Hey guys, Lucas here in Vintage Surplus, and today we're going to take a look at the Rhodesian Recon vest, the RRV. Specifically, we're going to look at the L.A.R.P Tactical versions, which are one-to-one reproductions of the famed Eagle Industries RRV, and they're just excellent examples of this awesome vest. So let's get into it and take a look at what it can do for you. Okay, so let's talk about where the RRV came from and then where it is today. So it started off in 2002 when it was issued with the first generation of the SOF LCS kits and MJK. It's pretty much a direct descendant of the rack rigs, and then about 20 years worth of rigs that came before it, and it's one of the first like really MOLLE compatible chest rigs out there as far as that was issued in a sort of wide scheme. So it's a pretty old chest rig, and it saw MJK to khaki to UCP, multicam, Ranger Green, AOR1, and I'm sure there's an AOR2 one out there. I've just never seen one. In that 20-year span that was kind of issued out, you saw a little bit of variation, mostly with the materials. I mean, the biggest variation was from the NJK to the khaki RRVs, the body armor compatibility got improved. These can carry a hard plate, which is something we'll go over in the video. So you can see the history of it. It's an older chest rig, it's an older design, but it's still very usable today. A lot of loadouts guys running these days, and we're gonna get into that and how and why, and just kind of just why it's such a great chest rig, why it's even though it's a legacy piece of gear, a lot of gear is still based off this, and a lot of gear is still held to the standard of the RRV. So let's get into the features and some example loadouts, why the RRV is so great. So one question I do get asked quite a bit, or it's a general question as it is Rhodesian Recon vest. So does this have a basis in Rhodesia, Africa, anything like that? Not really. It is a sort of slick MOLLE version of the old Pattern 83 and some vests that were used back in the 70s and 80s within that area of the world. But as far as like being a Rhodesian rig descendant, not really. It's just kind of the stylization based off what these guys are using pretty heavily over there, and became pretty popular and pretty prevalent in full combat load capable chest rigs. So that's kind of where the naming come from. I'm sure if anybody knows better history as far as that naming convention goes, please feel free to drop in the comments. But in reality, it's not like a Rhodesian rig that was then modified and then brought into American service. It's just kind of the naming convention based off of some of the stylization choices and use cases that it came from. So there's that, yeah. So we look at the Rhodesian, it's a large footprint chest rig, and it's got a lot of features in there, and a lot of them are centered towards big loadouts. So let's talk about the first feature, that is 16 columns of MOLLE webbing, so PALS webbing, whatever you want to call it, and then generally speaking it's 4 rows high, and then you have a 3-row section on the wings. So tons of room for all your pouches, and you can load out pretty big loadouts on here. And then it also has a bib, and that bib can be folded down, but that bib includes 4 columns of MOLLE as well that are 3 rows high. So even more space around admin pouch, everything like that. So from the get-go, you have a ton of space to mount a lot of kit and keep it pretty well centered on your body. So let's go on to some of the other features on the RRV. So for the RRV, one thing, there's a lot of MOLLE space on here. So you have 4 columns or 4 rows deep, and that is a lot of space. And sometimes you don't need that space. And there's a feature to get rid of that last row of MOLLE webbing. So on the back side, you flip it over, you have all these button snaps. Now you can take up that last row. I can get this to snap, and you can trim down your RRV pretty easily. You don't really feel this. You might think like, oh, this is gonna kind of bulge into me. It doesn't. You don't really feel it. And now you've slimmed down your RRV in total, and it gets down to 3 rows high, with still having your full 16 columns wide. So that's an easy way to slim down your RRV and get rid of that little excess if you're not using it, if you don't want that hanging down, especially if you have a shorter torso. So that's a really cool feature that I haven't really seen replicated anywhere else. So the next cool feature is the internal pockets. So in the bib, there's a small admin pocket that's hook and loop closure. You can put, your notebooks, pens, papers, all that kind of stuff. The main panel, there's another internal pocket that's also hook and loop closure. Now I know I'm gonna get a question, can I put a kangaroo insert in there? Yes, you're gonna have to do it yourself, kind of build your own, because it wasn't made for a kangaroo insert, but it could fit one. There was enough hook and loop in there that you could do it. But inside there's also some elastics so you can organize a little bit of things. Chem lights, maps, marking material, anything you need to hold onto your kit really securely, that little compartment in the main section is going to hold it pretty well. Now from there, let's go on to the harness, because the harness is a pretty nice and comfortable aspect of the RRV. So the harness on the RRV is pretty nice, and it's built in, it's sewn in, so you can't replace it readily. I mean, if you're nifty, maybe you could. I don't really know why you would, but somebody's going to do it out there. But it's padded, and it can be worn in both an H and an X configuration. So whichever way fits you better, it's going to be able to fit you. Now with that H and X configuration ability, you can wear this over slick body armor if you don't want to wear it standalone. But again, it can wear. So on the back side of the Rhodesian, is a elastic pocket and a strap where you can fit a standard 10 by 13 plate in there. So your medium, sappy cut kind of plates will fit in there pretty well. It's gonna hold it pretty securely. So if you really wanna wear a hard plate, you can put that in there. And that's the next point, which is the unobtainium unicorn, always asked about back panel section for the RV. Good luck finding one. They only really came in multicam. Don't think I've seen one in another color. And you know, reproductions do exist. And I'm sure if you ask hard enough, L.A.R.P Tactical may make one for the Rhodesians they make as well. Now from there, let's see what else this thing has to offer us. Now these were made before belt kits or gun belts or battle belts are really a big thing. But if you adjust it right, and they will ride comfortably with a battle belt or gun belt, whatever you're wearing around your waist, they can still be worn as a chest rig with that. So you don't have to worry about, you know, well, it's a really big, large footprint chest rig. It's still going to work pretty well with it. And they also be worn with backpacks really easily, even though they got big, thick padded shoulder straps. Putting a salt pack, putting a rucksack on with your RV, it's pretty easy. It's going to wear just fine. So if you're going to wear a backpack with it, you're good to go. So those are the general features of the RV. It's a pretty great chest rig that can be worn a lot of different ways. So let's go and break down some. All right, so this loadout's pretty simple, and it's kind of reflective of a lot of example pieces you would see based on GWOT usage, but it still rocks today, and you can still very usable, and the pouches still make sense as far as the layout goes. So I'll start from my right, work to my left, and talk about everything up and down from there. So on the very right, I have a flashbang pouch, which I can hold flashbang if I wanted to, or multi-tool, pistol mags, whatever I want to, just kind of a small utility pouch. From there, canteen pouch, which also functions as a GP pouch, depending if I need a canteen right there or not. And then I have 6 mags and double magazine pouches. And even though there are 6 double stacked, it's not too thick on me. The rig itself is pretty thin at the end of the day, so no worries there about having double stacked magazines. I have an IFAC that's still pretty easy to get to, even though it's coming on my side. And then behind there, a tourniquet pouch, which I can still reach just fine. Now the cool parts is, because there's 16 columns of MOLLE webbing that are 4 high right here in the center, I can mount the dangler by mounting my double magazine pouches just a little high. So they still sit fine, still getting out of here just easy enough. But because I have a whole row down here that is free, I can mount that column, or I can mount that large utility pouch right here pretty well, get to it just fine, even with my loaded magazines, everything like that. And I can have plenty of GP space. And then going up from there, stacked admin space kind of a little bit on top of that bib. So I have internal space right here if I wanted to, and then I have more space right here. So I can store plenty of maps, documents, signal material, anything like that. So again, pretty simple loadout, kind of reflective of your standard GWOT-ish use, but it shows how much you can really pack on an RV and how just, you know, you can make it work however you want to for you. So from here, let's get into a kind of an oddball layout, and then get into more of a modern layout. All right, so this rig is definitely more of an oddball kind of layout, but it's a good example of, because you have so much space to mount gear, you can really just mount it however you want to. So what's pretty clear right here is the amount of GP space I have in the center, which kind of slims out the rig a little bit, but I have plenty of room for maps, documents, binos, signal material, everything in between. I have all the room I can really want to right here, and it's pretty slim on me, so I can get low, you know, in the prone, crouch down, get in awkward positions a little better. Then from there, magazine pouches. And right here are doubles, so I only have 4 magazines, but I can go triples just fine, and it's not going to bulk me out too hard. And I still have my canteen and my IFAC on here. So I have all these essentials, plus a little bit more on here, and there's plenty of room to mount it on here. So it just goes to show, however you want to load your kit out, the RV's there for you, because it can do that plenty well. So let's get into one more kit that's a little more modern-ish of a loadout. All right, so this rig's a little bit more slimmed down, and just goes to show that it can still meet that like kind of modern-ish loadout where you see a lot more slicker gear on here, and just a little more slimmed down in general for a chest rig. So he's got an IFAC. This is one of the co-workers. He's got an IFAC, flashbang pouch, which hold multi-tools, pistol mags, whatever you want to, small utility pouch at the end of the day. And he's got a S-Tac triple on here. So he's got, you know, solid retention in there, and then a GP pouch on front. So he's got plenty of room for gear, and he's got a nods pouch right here as well. Also just a good GP pouch if he's not wanting to run his nods or something like that. So plenty of room for stuff. It just goes to show that even modern gear works pretty good on here. Then he's got an admin pouch on here. Oh, actually, this is a radio pouch, ain't it?
That's what I use it for.
Okay, it's a radio pouch. So, and you can see he ran his PTT up here through the rig itself. So cable management, pretty easy on this thing. But yeah, and he's running a hard plate in here. So you can see, again, how this can run hard plates. And it's plenty comfortable. And overall, I mean, magazines would weigh this down a little bit, but it's pretty light. So another good example of, you can set this thing up however you want to. So yeah, those are example loadouts. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of the RRV. Again, we use the L.A.R.P Tactical Rhodesian Recon vest, the task force RRV they're making these days. And we use that because A, we're covering them, and B, because they're excellent one-to-one reproductions of the famous Eagle RRV. So if you want one nowadays, they're the guys to grab one in new condition, especially when it comes to multicam and Ranger Green, which are very desirable color schemes and just hard to get a hold of. So if you want to grab one, make sure you head on over. And if we're out of stock right now, make sure you sign up for our emails, because that's the place you're going to find out when we restock them, and then all sorts of other gear, sales, featured items, and everything in between. So make sure you head on over and sign up for our emails. And then check out our Instagram, because I like to talk about this kind of stuff on an almost daily basis. So you can see the gear you want before you buy it, so you can know if it's the gear you really need. From there, if you use an Eagle Industries RRV in the past, you own one, you own a L.A.R.P Tactical one, were issued one in the past, please drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought about the RV, kind of example loadouts, and then just leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Because when you do that, we know you like the content. We keep bringing it to you. So appreciate you watching. Thank you for watching. Look forward to the next video.